Hey there.
Hey there.
I'm Ted Rall, and I'm here for DeProgram along with John Kiriakou. He's the CIA whistleblower. I'm the editorial cartoonist. Thank you so much for joining us. It's Wednesday, July 30th, 2025. It's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. Thanks for joining us on the Rumble feed, on the YouTube feed, and everywhere else you're listening. Also to people just listening to the audio. We appreciate you too. Please like, follow, and share the show. Lots to talk about today, as always. We talked about that this might happen, John. I didn't think it would happen this fast.
No way.
The UK is almost certainly going to recognize Palestine at the UN General Assembly this September. Well, that's our lead. We're going to be talking about interesting news out of Iran, where Iran's leading the way in abandoning U.S. tech, namely GPS. And, we could see a lot more of this kind of thing coming in the very near future from all over the world. Super interesting look into the future. Is Israel losing the American right, the evangelicals who've been their loyal supporters? Marjorie Taylor Greene is criticizing the Gaza war as genocide. She's right, of course, but it's amazing to hear her and people like her saying anything like that. Two CIA-related stories that there's no way I'm going to let you off the hook, John, from talking about. Tom Sylvester is out at the CIA, and Sandy Grimes, the lady who caught Aldrich Ames, died at the age of 80. We'll talk about her legacy, and we'll talk about breaking news and anything else that comes up. And, of course, if you have questions, please put them into the feeds, and we always pick up on them and post them and talk about them. But we've got lots of stuff to talk about. So Keir Starmer, he kind of like gave it some people are interpreting this as a wussy move, but he basically said he'll recognize Palestine in September unless Israel comes to its senses and agrees to a ceasefire. They've been the ones who've been breaking all the ceasefires up until now. And so, obviously Israel's not going to do that. So by definition, the UK will join France, and there's a whole passel of other countries who are interested in doing it too. So let's get to it.
Yeah, let's start, if you don't mind, with Tom Sylvester. Oh, okay. Thank you very much, Marble.
Let's do Tom Sylvester.
I just want to get this out of the way because we have so much to talk about related to Gaza. Tom Sylvester is the CIA's deputy director for operations, and in that position, he's, you can argue, the number 3 or number 4 official in the CIA. He's in charge of all CIA operations around the world. This is a job that every CIA case officer aspires to. And by all accounts, he's been very popular among the rank and file. Well, if you've been the deputy director for operations, your final pre-retirement job is normally that you're named station chief in London. That is the one job that everybody in the CIA aspires to. Everybody wants to be the station chief in London. So he was named station chief in London several months ago. But over the course of those several months, he gave an interview to Tim Weiner, who is the Pulitzer Prize winning author of several books on the CIA. There's one coming out soon called The Mission that, thank you, Eric, that several outlets are excerpting. And apparently CIA Director John Radcliffe didn't like the fact that he spoke with Tim Weiner. Now, normally, the director of the CIA will instruct his officers to work with authors, especially with Tim Weiner. But whatever it is that Tom Sylvester said, it apparently pissed people off. And so the job was unceremoniously yanked from under him. He will not be the CIA station chief in London. Director Ratcliffe informed MI6 apparently yesterday that Sylvester will not be the CIA station chief in London. And so today, Sylvester announced his retirement, effective immediately. He's just going to take his pension and go home. Now, most of the time, senior officers, even if they're disgruntled, will keep their mouths shut. The fact that he's already spoken to Tim Weiner makes me think the story's not over. We're going to hear more. So that's that.
So my father,
exciting.
My father worked in government, specifically in the U.S. Air Force for years at the upper echelons. And he told me, and John, tell me if this is correct, that usually when you know you're about to retire, that's your one chance to vent and blow up. You know you're going to retire anyway, and you've had stuff that you wanted to say. You've got one big thing you want to do, someone you want to blow up, some boss who was an asshole, and then this is when you do it. And then you retire and they can't get you. Is that basically what happened here?
100%. 100%. And I'll tell you my own experience. My last tour, when I resigned from the agency, was at the United Nations in New York. And my station chief, Mary Margaret Graham, and I did not like each other, even not a little bit. And so a couple of days before I left, she threatened me with putting out what's called a burn notice against me.
Oh, I saw that TV show.
Yeah. She threatened me with a burn notice. And I laughed at her. I was in her office. And of course, she had her little witness there, the chief of operations, who was just a little dwarf. So I said, I'm not afraid of your threats. Burn notice? I said, come on. You forget that when I made this recent recruitment, you congratulated me by telling me to take petty cash and go get myself a blowjob. I said, what do you think the Washington Post would say about that? Or the New York Times? Because as God is my witness, I'm going to call them and tell them. And she immediately backed off.
Wow.
So,
by the way, I do want to answer, maybe you can answer this question. Marble is asking, why is London a desirable post? It's like the top post, right? It's the
post. Because you get a gigantic mansion to live in. You get a chauffeur-driven Jaguar limo that they drive you around in. You have the largest entertainment budget of any station chief in the world. Nobody's trying to kill you there.
And MI6 is the closest alliance, right? Intelligence ally that we have.
Without any question. MI6 CIA is the closest friendship in the world.
So it's analogous to, in the State Department, right? Ambassador to the Court of St. James. It's the same kind of thing. It's the job.
Yes, exactly right. It is the job. I mean,
it's
even
like for an editorial cartoonist, like New York Times, it's like that.
Right. Yeah. And so, Hans, I absolutely, positively did not. I've never paid for it in my life, and I'm proud to say that. So, although we all pay for it in different ways. That's
nothing's free, as my working girlfriends used to tell me.
But even at lower levels in London, like I've spoken about this operation I did with Christopher Steele back in 2000. And I was in Athens at the time, but I would travel to London every week. And then my counterparts in the station, who were, just whatever, GS12, GS13, GS14, they were living high on the hog too. You're living in Knightsbridge, or you're living in Paddington in this beautiful Muse house, and life is good. And like I say, people aren't trying to kill you on the way to work, which is quite refreshing.
By the way, what do you think of Tom Sylvester, and what do you think of Tim Weiner?
Honestly, I like them both. Tom Sylvester was an inspired choice to be the deputy director for operations. The guy's he was a station chief, I don't know, 6 times, 7 times all around the world. He was a specialist in Soviet and then Russian operations, and really quite the good ops guy, career-long ops guy, spent almost his entire adult life overseas. Tim Weiner, I actually have a great deal of respect for. I gave him an interview for his his previous book about the CIA, and he treated me with great respect. So I
read that book. Yeah, it's a solid read for sure.
It's a solid read, and it won the National Book Award, which is a very big deal.
Yeah,
very big deal.
I mean, it's definitely not a fun read, unfortunately, and that's my kind of idea of a fun read. But it doesn't. I mean, that's all I read is that kind of thing. But
I love it. I love it.
Yeah, but I mean, the prose doesn't sing, but I would say it's worth.
It's a little bit on the dense side, but he footnotes the daylights out of his books.
I appreciate
that. He backs up everything he writes. It's quite impressive. And then his books are like 800 pages long.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for those long books. I've been hearing that word counts are dropping at books. 100,000, 120,000 words used to be a standard fiction book. Yeah. Now 60 or 80,000 is closer to a novella because people's attention span is so short. But the biographies and political nonfiction still is the outlier. They're getting longer and longer all the time.
Can I answer, please? Eric Husso real quickly? Eric, the rule on the Peace Corps was written in granite. There could be no contact whatsoever between the CIA and the Peace Corps for several reasons. First of all, everybody already accuses the Peace Corps of being CIA, right? So it's dangerous enough. Secondly, the Peace Corps has no protection. They're out there in the sticks. You are out there in the sticks doing God's work, and there's nobody to protect you. So we were not permitted to even say hello if we ran into somebody from the Peace Corps.
I mean, honestly, that is a good rule that you guys had, because I mean, it's to me, the analogy is the journalist embedding programs.
Without a doubt.
I'm violently opposed to. And it's like as soon as that started in Iraq, anytime you went anywhere, the locals would say well, you're just you're with the U.S. soldiers. You're you're a propagandist. I can't trust you. Why shouldn't I kill you? And it's it's so dangerous. And then as a journalist, the only weapon you have is your camera or your laptop. I mean,
that's it. You're on your own.
You're really your dick is waving out in the wind. I mean, it's bad.
It's bad.
So, do you want to talk? Do you want to talk about the others? Do you want to do Sandy Grimes, or should we save that for later?
Let's do Sandy Grimes. Sandy Grimes is another kind of legendary figure, and she never really set out to be. Sandy started off as a secretary in the days when I think she started back in '67, is what I read. But those were the days when women were not permitted to have leadership roles. Not just leadership roles, they were not permitted to really do anything of import. They were only secretaries and clerks, file clerks. So she started off as a secretary and then rose up to be one of the greatest mole hunters in CIA's history. And she's the one who caught Aldrich Ames, one of the most despicable traitors in modern American history. So, and she was totally unsung. She didn't, even inside the building, if you would say to somebody, hey, so which one of these people over here is Sandy Grimes? Nobody would know, because she wasn't about the fanfare. Her job was to find the mole, and by God, she found him, and he got life without parole. I remember George Tenet saying one time in a meeting that Sandy had gone to him. George, of course, was the director at the time. And Sandy said, I've identified him. It's Aldrich Ames. And it just so happened that George had to attend a White House briefing at which Ames was a participant. And George said that he just couldn't look Ames in the eye. He knew he was a traitor, and he knew that he was going to be arrested in just a couple of days. And so he was determined only to look at Ames's shoes so as not to give himself away. And he said he couldn't help but to see that the shoes were, the shoes that O.J. Simpson wore, those $500 shoes. Do you remember what those were?
Oh, God. I don't remember what those were. I had never heard of them at the time.
I hadn't either, but they're like Prada shoes.
Yeah.
And then a couple of days later,
that's always the thing, right? I mean, these guys, these moles, they have too much money. They're living too high. That's what it's like the mob, right? That's what attracts the wrong kind of attention.
Absolutely. I'm gonna Google it real quickly. O.J. Simpson's shoes.
And while you're doing that, let me just bring in Robbie to talk
Bruno
about
Mali.
Bruno Mali, that's it. Well,
Bruno Mali shoes.
Let me bring in producer Robbie. Guys, we just have to ask you a quick little favor, and we're going to explain this to you. Okay, Robbie's our producer, Robbie West, who I'm going to see next week in Montana. We basically are trying to get some money here. And with the existing audience that we have, if we can get people to go over to Rumble and watch us on Rumble, same exact experience. There's a live feed. It's exactly the same thing. Instead of YouTube, which pays not nearly as well. John and I will have a little easier time paying our bills every month.
Seriously,
you want to explain it?
Yeah, no, for sure. No, thank y'all for popping me on. So just real quick, I'm gonna try and make this as precise and not boring as possible. So YouTube pays you based off of ads, and basically, whenever you click on a video, whenever an ad pops up, they will literally throw a few pennies to Ted and John here onto the channel. What I'm working on doing is getting deprogrammed into the Rumble Content Creator Program. And I want that for a couple of different reasons. One, Rumble is a free speech platform. So what does that mean? It means that Rumble will not one day decide that John and Ted are being too controversial and pull the plug. So if you like John and Ted, go to Rumble, you can listen to them, and they'll be uncensored. Second, Rumble pays you based off of your watch hours. On YouTube, watch hours mean nothing. So it's kind of like TV or radio. So the more people that watch, what happens is that they get paid literally hundreds of dollars per hour watched, as opposed to maybe $6 or $7 over on YouTube. And like Ted was saying, the experience is exactly the same, with one big exception. When you're on Rumble, once you're in the creator program, they have to do 5 hours of Rumble only premium content. So what does that mean? If there's a topic that's particularly controversial that y'all are interested in hearing, then you can see it live on Rumble and be able to continue supporting them and be able to help them pay some bills. I mean, y'all know what's going on with them. Y'all know that they lost their income. So while we ask y'all to go over to Rumble, drop some follows. We have thousands of people here watching on YouTube. If only it, I do not kid y'all. If 20% of y'all do what we're asking, it would make a radical change financially for Ted and for John. That's all I got for you. Now drop the link in the chat.
Okay, the chat, it's in here. It's rumble.com/C inexplicably /deprogram show. But you can just go to Rumble and just search for Deprogram and Ted Rall or John Kiriakou, and you will find it. Robbie, thank you so much for that. Okay, sorry for the ad, guys. I mean, it's like we're getting to be like NPR. John, anyway, you were saying about Sandy Grimes.
Yeah, so here she catches one of the most prolific moles in modern American history. And then the next day she came into work and just went about her normal job looking for the next mole. So I felt bad when I saw she died. I didn't realize that she was 80 years old, but God bless her. She was really one of those unknown heroes, those unsung heroes at the CIA. You know, every once in a while the CIA will give out something called a Trailblazer Award. I never understood these things. And most of them will be, you know, white men who were station chief, like, you know, in Havana when Batista was overthrown, or station chief when the last guy was pulled out of South Vietnam on the helicopter. And then they'll toss one to somebody like Bonnie Hirschberg. I worked for Bonnie in the Office of Leadership Analysis. Bonnie was a terrific analyst. She was an okay manager. What trail she blazed, I will never, ever, ever understand, because she was just kind of a typical run-of-the-mill manager. But then you have people like this who, are unsung. But anyway, that's the CIA today. A lot of news coming out of the CIA today.
What is before we move on from her? I mean, what are the personality traits that are required to catch a mole? Like, what skill set is required? I mean, it's not, you have to navigate. Also, you're in the case of an Aldrich Ames, you're bringing down someone who's got title, position above your own.
Oh yes, he was senior.
You have a lot of institutional resistance. No one wants to hear it, right?
No one wants to hear it. And I'll tell you what, there are no bigger secrets than in the counterintelligence center at the CIA. That's a very important question you've asked, Ted. The mole hunter at the CIA has to be somebody who is obsessed with secrecy, to the point where you don't even talk to yourself, like in your own head. Like for me, I'd go to the credit union and say, "I'm taking you down, Ames, you bastard." I would never fit in a position like that.
And you have to not really care about like people telling you, shut up, Kiriakou. Like you just don't like that. You don't like Ames because you don't like his politics. Exactly. You don't like the cut of his jib. This is personal. You're going after a good patriot, someone who's doing God's work for America, and you're being an asshole.
That's right. That's right. And listen, somebody in counterintelligence is akin to somebody in internal affairs. Correct. In a police department. I'll give you another example.
No one likes you.
I'll give you an example. At the end of my first full week at the agency, my boss walked me around both the new headquarters building and the old headquarters building just to point out where everything was, right? Here's the cafeteria. Here's the credit union. There's medical services. This in the lobby of the new building it's all glass, like a glass atrium, and they have windows. And one window says health insurance, and one window says life insurance, and one window says sports tickets, right? And then there were a couple of other windows. He said, this is where you go if you want to buy baseball tickets, basketball, hockey, football tickets, right? And then there was another one that said, well, I shouldn't say what it said, but it was the window that you go to if maybe you have a little bit of a drinking problem, or you've got a problem with your credit, or maybe you're taking care of your elderly parents and it's too much of a burden. He told me, don't ever go to that window. I said, why? It's nice that they do things like that.
Yeah.
And he said, because the people at that window work for counterintelligence. And they don't give a shit about your elderly parents. They want to know if you're in a bad enough spot that you're going to turn mole.
So this is a little bit like in the Cultural Revolution, Let 1,000 Flowers Bloom, where the Chinese Communist Party said, oh, we're opening up to ourselves to criticism. All you academics, all you people who might be accused of being counter-revolutionaries, step forward. The party's a big tent. We want to hear from all of you guys. Then you step forward, off to a May 4th farm.
Nobody ever sees you again.
Yeah.
That's right.
Wow. That's some dark, cynical shit.
That was my first week. I'm like, holy shit. I never even went in there to buy a ticket to the ball game. I was just afraid of somebody just seeing me go in there. Yeah.
Yeah, you can be. That's what Ticketron is for.
Exactly.
Or Ticketmaster, whatever the fuck it's called now.
That's exactly right.
Oh man, that is so dark. All right, should we talk about Palestine? I mean, we have lots of.
You were right, Ted. You were right about Keir Starmer, and frankly, I didn't think he had the guts to do it. But then he kind of made a half step. If you don't mind my, taking over the conversation,
please.
He said we're gonna recognize Palestine in September, unless the Israelis let food in and are nicer people about it. It's
it's a decision designed by committee, right? You can tell that.
Absolutely.
And but I think it's probably very easy to agree to. I mean, it's kind of like, well, okay, fine. I mean, the Israelis are not going to do this. I mean, it does have I don't like it either, because I feel one of the commenters deep down in the thread pointed out that really this recognition should just be based on not as a reward, a punishment for Israel, but it should just be a statement of self-determination for the Palestinian people.
Ted,
Couldn't agree more.
In the original documents that led to the creation of Israel, and there's even a YouTube video of Harry Truman talking about this, it says that Israel is going to be created, today, whatever, 1948, and Palestine will be created as an independent state pending further discussion. Okay, that was 1948, and we're still talking about it.
Now, that said, there's 153 nations. I guess it's going to be 155 soon. Australia is apparently getting ready to go to pull the trigger.
Yes.
Luxembourg is getting ready to pull the trigger.
I didn't see that one.
And there's a whole passel of other European countries that are Croatia.
Yes, Croatia, Spain.
Yeah, Spain's already in.
They're already in.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think basically it's like you said, it's going to be just the Axis powers of Germany and Japan and Italy who are going to be out with the U.S. What a motley crew. And, but so, yeah, no, it's a big deal. I mean, I think the pressure built so fast on Starmer. That's what I mean. I knew it was going to happen. I just didn't think it would happen this quickly.
And you know what started it? Was these pictures that ran in the BBC of starving children. That just opened the floodgates. I really believe that.
Yeah. Well, let's talk about that. Someone brought it up, and I apologize because this was further down. But I'm glad that someone asked about this question. So there was this one particular photo of this one kid who was really, really, really sick and with these haunting eyes. And you can see why this particular photo went viral. And the New York Times and other corporate media organizations have walked that back, obviously in response to Zionists who've complained that the kid, aside from suffering from starvation, also had other diseases at the same time. Right. So therefore, so the implication being maybe that these other diseases are wasting diseases, but they're not. But the kid was really, really sick, and he's starving. So, which is why he was at the hospital. But look, to me, it's kind of like, well, what do we make of that? My answer to that is, I think it's the last gasp of a dying regime. I mean, I think Israel is in real trouble now.
I agree. And I don't think that they really realize just how deep they are. I saw an interview. Well, maybe you saw it too. It's Tucker Carlson's latest interview. It just dropped, and it's with John Mearsheimer, who is absolutely freaking brilliant. And Mearsheimer essentially said that. He said that the Israelis just don't realize how deep they're in. And on the contrary, they're talking about this concept of a greater Israel, which is includes the bottom third of Lebanon, the southern third of Lebanon. It includes, another 50 miles inside of Syria. It includes the entire West Bank, and it includes the Sinai Peninsula. It's like, wait a minute, you guys should be thinking about your survival here and about your country falling apart because you're carrying out a genocide. And you've got people who are in government talking about greater Israel. Mearsheimer made another important point. And this is how unhinged the American evangelical Christian community is, where you've got the likes of Ambassador Huckabee or Speaker of the House Mike Johnson saying that Jesus wants us to support Israel and Israel's policy. Well, last week, Israel's policy was to utterly and completely destroy one of the last surviving Christian villages in the West Bank, drive out all the Christians, and steal their land. So you're saying Jesus wants the Jews to drive out the Christians? And that's what we're going with?
It makes absolutely no sense at all. So many Americans don't know how many Christians there are in Palestine. A lot of them. By the way, though,
10%.
I do want to say, one of the things we wanted to talk about was the split now, the growing split on the American right over Israel. And I do want to be fair to Ambassador Huckabee. He's the U.S. ambassador to Israel. He went to the West Bank and visited that town that's been repeatedly attacked by violent fascist settlers, probably most of whom are from like my neighbors from Brooklyn.
Yeah,
right?
they're from New Jersey and New York.
Yeah,
yeah.
And those scumbags who've been murdering, raping, and pillaging over there.
Yes.
But at least he went there, and he expressed concern, and he was, I think, turned off by what the settlers were doing. He showed up. Joe Rogan, who I think is unfairly characterized as a right-winger, but he's boycotting. Apparently, he's not allowing Bibi Netanyahu to come on his show. Who Bibi wants to come on. I think they're losing the thread, the Israelis. We're talking about a country that is uniquely, right? It's unique, right? It's the only country that's currently on the face of the planet that owes its existence to the United Nations. Mm-hmm. It's the only complete welfare state that owes its entire economy to the United States of America. It's ignoring the UN and its resolutions. It's ignoring public opinion in the U.S., among the taxpayers who are paying that bill to the Israelis. I mean, these people are biting, chomping, stabbing, and hacking at the hand that feeds them. And, they're a rabid dog. And, I wrote a column this week that's called that Israel no longer has the right to exist. And
I read that.
And thank you. And the argument that I'm trying to make here is, in the community of nations, there are some things that people can't tolerate. Like, when Napoleon disrupted Europe, all these disparate powers who had competing interests got together to defeat him, even though they hated each other. World War II, the U.S. and the USSR were not buds, but they had to come together to fight Nazi Germany, not to stop the Holocaust, because the U.S. certainly didn't care about it. Certainly the Russians cared more about it because it happened on in their territory. But they came in and they got together because Nazi Germany was so militarily aggressive and violent and out of control and disruptive. They just had to be put down like a rabid dog. Same, and Imperial Japan the same way. That's exactly the scenario that we have now with Israel. They're such a destabilizing force in the Middle East, right? Literally, even if you count like Iran, and the axis of resistance and all the shenanigans they had going on with the Houthis and all that, it's nothing compared to Israel, right? Just in the last few months, right? They bombed Iran. They overthrew the government of Syria, and now they're bombing the new government that they installed.
Yes.
These people are nuts.
They are nuts. And, I have to say, where did I just see it? It was, well, thank you, everybody, first of all, for going on to, there it is. What nonsense, says USA sex predators flee to Israel. Oh, boy, are you right. So listen to this. I was in prison with a pedophile, this disgusting, horrible pedophile. He had graduated from Harvard and Harvard Law School, and he was an attorney in Moscow. To make a very long story very short, he was an aficionado of the ballet. And so he offered to pay the tuition for a 12-year-old Russian boy, but he insisted that the boy live with him. The parents were like, oh, I don't know about that, but they were poor. And this kid was like a once in a generation gifted ballet guy. And so they allowed their 12-year-old to move in with the guy, Kenneth. So 12 hours later, Ken was raping this kid. And this went on for 5 years. Finally, the kid told the FBI what was happening. They issued an arrest warrant. By then, Ken was back in Philadelphia, where his parents were exceedingly wealthy, big humanitarians. They, donate to the museum, whatever. He ran immediately to Israel, and the Israelis would not extradite him because they would not. The Israelis don't extradite Jews. It's a law. in Israel. They don't care what he's accused of. They're not extraditing any Jew. So we asked for the extradition. They said no. And then Interpol came up with an idea that was absolutely genius. I love when I hear about these brilliant operational ideas that people come up with. This was my favorite thing to do at the CIA, was just to sit around thinking up ideas with my colleagues. They decided to sponsor a ballet show in Cyprus. And they used a dummy email account to email him an announcement of the ballet.
To lure him.
And they lured him to Cyprus, and they grabbed him at the airport. And the Cypriots extradited him. And he got 20 years. He's still in, that bastard. But the Israelis will not extradite Jews, period.
That's pretty gross. I mean, I think we're done here. So look, what do you think is going to happen? I mean, so September now feels really far away.
It does. I agree. And it's not. It's 4.5, 5 weeks.
Right. So the UN. So it's going to be Labor Day. The UN's going to come here to New York and fuck up all the traffic, and no one's going to be able to move
every year.
In that traffic is going to be a lot of new allies or at least friends of Palestine. Right. How many countries do you think it's going to be? It's going to be like our migration over to Rumble. Everyone's subscribing over there. Palestine's signing them up. And by the way, I did want to ask you a little bit about this statement that broke. I don't know if you had a chance to hear it because it just happened right before we went on the air. But Arab and Muslim states, a member of the Arab League, the EU, and 17 more countries have supported a declaration signed at a UN conference that was hosted by Saudi Arabia and France that basically is calling, this also includes Qatar, Saudis and Egypt, they're calling for Hamas to disarm and give up power and basically turn over all authority to the Palestinian Authority, which of course is Mahmoud Abbas, who's 92 or something like that.
Yeah, I always say he's 16 years into a 4-year term.
Nice. He and Zelensky have a nice democracy they're working on. That's
right.
And anyway, so he's over there. So Mahmoud Abbas, the sort of the head of I guess it's like the Vichy kind of government of the West Bank.
They're all corrupt.
Yeah, they're corrupt and they don't really do anything. But basically, that's what all these countries are calling for. Like, they don't want to recognize Hamas. I mean, that's not going to happen, right? I mean, because first of all, that's Fatah, and they can't rule in Gaza. The Gazans don't want them.
No. The Gazans have made it clear by voting Hamas in and the PA out. The PA is not the answer to this problem. Haaretz 2 or 3 weeks ago ran this article saying that one of the things that's being discussed, and I think it isn't actually being discussed, I think they just put it out there to see what the reaction was going to be, was to have Hamas disarm and then to have Saudi Arabia administer Gaza while Israel continues to actually own Gaza. And then after a day, nobody really commented on it. And can I say something too about Cyprus? This thing that the Israelis said about northern Cyprus being an Israel problem. They mean something actually contemporary on that. The Greeks, I am utterly ashamed to say that the Greeks and the Cypriots are 1,000% pro-Israel. And the reason that they're pro-Israel is severalfold. Number one, it's because the Israelis and the Turks hate each other. So if the Turks hate Israel, then the Greeks have to love Israel because the Greeks hate the Turks.
The enemy of my enemy is my friend.
There it is. The other reason is because the Cypriots are sitting on an ocean of natural gas, and it stretches into Israeli waters. And so the Greeks, the Cypriots...
And into Palestinian waters, right?
Gazan waters, yes. And just like one little vein into Lebanese waters. Mm-hmm. So the Greeks and the Cypriots don't have the money to lift this gas, but the Israelis certainly do. And so the three countries have entered into this joint venture that's already well underway to lift this gas, and it's going to make Cyprus one of the wealthiest countries in the world over the course of years. So we just, I'm not going to say celebrated, I'm going to say commemorated the 51st anniversary of the Turkish invasion of Cyprus.
Oh, wow.
The Turks invaded Cyprus, killed thousands of Cypriots. 17 American citizens are still missing from the Turkish invasion 51 years ago.
Yeah, this was in the 70s, yeah?
1974.
Yeah.
And
I never understood what was Turkey after? I mean, besides just territory.
There were a lot of moving parts in this thing. So these were literally the final days of the Greek military dictatorship. Mm-hmm. And as it was in its death throes, it overthrew the democratically elected government of Cyprus and installed a strongman by the name of Nikos Samson, who had been an assassin in sort of his previous life. So Samson announced a military dictatorship in Cyprus. The Turks saw that as the green light to invade and overthrow Samson, which they did in a matter of days. So the democratically elected president returns to Cyprus. He'd only been in exile a week, and the Turks never left. And they've just kept 1/3 of Cyprus, the northern third of Cyprus. So what we're seeing here, with the Israelis saying we have a problem with northern Cyprus, there is no such thing as northern Cyprus with a capital N. The Turks call it the trunk, the Turkish Republic of Northern Cyprus. It's not recognized by any country in the world except Turkey.
Right. It's Turkish annexed or Turkish occupied Cyprus is what it is.
It's just occupied Cyprus. Yeah. Right. And so because the Israelis and the Greeks and the Cypriots are all in business together, the Greeks and the Cypriots went to the Israelis and say, we need your help on Cyprus. You need to say the right thing about the Turks. And so the Israelis hate the Turks like the Turks hate the Israelis. So they jump in on the side of the Greeks and the Cypriots. It's awful.
I do want to answer this question by Godna.
Yeah.
Why would anyone, not that too. Okay, we'll answer this one. Why would anyone trust Saudi Arabia to administer Gaza? They wouldn't. Is the short answer?
They wouldn't. I wouldn't.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not good.
And then also, the scroll is moving so fast. I'm having a hard. Oh, here we go. Can we explain what happens as with countries recognizing Palestine? It's really, it is symbolic. It doesn't change the facts on the ground. And there is the concern that in the case of the future Republic of Palestine or the present Republic of Palestine, depending on how you want to look at it, it's divided, right? I mean, it's literally, there's two governments. There's the Hamas government and there's the Palestinian Authority. That's kind of an issue because you're supposed to know who you'd be able to talk to. But, I guess like that's not being, but I mean, what happens is it's legitimate, right? So the big thing is if you're a country that has a deal with Israel or is thinking of making a deal with Israel, once you recognize Palestine, you have to go through all of your trading agreements and everything that you have with Israel to see if anything in there is wrong or illegal or challenging to Palestine. So a good example of that would be, let's say, so Israel produces wine. They produce it in occupied territories, for example, in the
very high
Golan
quality
Heights, which is, by the way, I have to admit, I've had this treason wine. It's really good.
It's quite good.
Yeah, it's really good. So the Golan wine is, for example, you would not, if you recognize Syria as an independent country, which most of the world does, well, you can't import that wine into your country. And it's just a million little things like that. And they add up. I mean, and there's more to it than that too, right? If there's a genocide taking place in your country, and you're recognized by another country, you can call their ambassador and say, "Listen, I need your help. There's stuff that we need your cooperation. Can you help us with intel? Can you can you de-recognize Israel? There's lots of stuff. Like suddenly the doors are open. You're not isolated. It reminds me a little bit of a strange meeting I had with the Afghan ambassador to Uzbekistan during the Taliban period. And this was like in 2000. It was in 2000. So it was the first.
Was he a Talib?
So he was a Northern Alliance guy. Right?
Ah.
So he had the embassy in Tashkent, and so I asked him, like, well, technically you're supposed to be getting support from the U.S. And he said, oh yeah. He goes, we're supposed to be. And I said, what kind of support do you get? And he opens up his desk drawer, pulls out a yellow envelope, and he's like, here you go. I open it up, and inside there's a map of Afghanistan. And I'm like, it's just, and he goes, that's the only support I have ever gotten from the U.S. government. Like, that's it. And I go, well, it's a pretty good map. He goes, it's out of date. He said the Soviet ones are better.
Oh
and he's God. Like, and I was like, so how do you pay for all this? And he was like, hemming and hawing. And I was like, you guys mine rubies? And he's like, yeah, in Badakhshan. So that's how they were subsisting. But yeah, but I mean, so I don't know. I mean, what do you think? What's the practical meaning of recognition for the Palestinians?
I think it opens the door for Palestine to be a member state in a lot of different international organizations, which gives them a voice on the international stage that they otherwise wouldn't have had. It makes them eligible for financial aid, both from international organizations and from individual countries. And, we used to have a Palestine liaison office here in Washington. Donald Trump closed it in his first term and expelled the Palestinian diplomats. I would love to see Palestinian diplomats on the circuit again in Washington, or in London or Madrid or, Canberra or anywhere else where they're recognized. It's important.
They could eventually have like one of those rotating seats at the Security Council at the UN.
Exactly right. So they would be the representative of the Asia group on the UN Security Council. Oh my God, could you imagine?
Huge, absolutely huge. When I was at the CIA, it was Libya's turn, and we went apeshit over the notion that Muammar Gaddafi would be represented on the United Nations Security Council. And so we started this international lobbying effort, and we got the Asia group to deny seating Libya on the Security Council, and Egypt got it 2 terms in a row. Ridiculous.
Because there were no other countries in all of Asia that should have been represented on the UN Security Council.
Right. By the way, really, I think good point here from Sky. After September, the U.S. will be the only permanent member of the Security Council not to recognize Palestinian statehood.
That is a very good point. Here's
the thing is, Israel's going to be a pariah. The question for President Trump and for the United States, and really, frankly, Trump, we shouldn't pick on him on this because Democrats are equally guilty of having supported Israel.
Absolutely.
And this whole genocide started under Biden, and he encouraged it, and he funded it, and he armed it. So, Trump just happens to be holding the bag right now. But the question for the U.S. is going to be, do we want to be at the pariah table with little Israel, or do we want to be with everyone else?
Well, in these votes in the UN General Assembly, it's not just us in Israel. It's also Nauru and occasionally Costa Rica and, one of those little countries in the Pacific that I can't pronounce. So we're not always standing alone, right?
Like Vanuatu.
Where would we be without Vanuatu?
Well, Vanuatu, I think Vanuatu is the closest to the international dateline. So on New Year's Eve, they always are like, well, Vanuatu celebrated 23 and a half hours ago. You've seen that.
Unbelievable. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to, I'll answer Yellow Banana's question. I'll be in New York City Labor Day weekend. How bad will traffic be for the UN? Horrible, if you're staying on the east
Stay
side.
away from the east side.
The east side is in Manhattan is terrible. If you're like somewhere else, honestly, if you're up like
Listen,
I'm on the Upper West,
I had a UN badge, and I had trouble getting to the office, even with the UN badge, and I was walking. So it's going to be bad on the east side. Stay away from the east side.
Yeah, and it's kind of like in general that's good advice anyway. Labor Day, but all the rich people will be gone. So in other neighborhoods, it'll kind of help. It's kind of like a great time to visit town. And the weather should be a little bit better. Oh my God. So, all right. What do we think of Gaddafi? I love that question. I think Gaddafi was super. I mean, no one got screwed more than Gaddafi, right? I mean, and what happened to him is so important as a lesson for other rulers, right? I mean, George W. Bush said, "Listen, if you drop your nuclear program, and we'll cut a deal with you, we'll bring you in, legitimize you, we'll forget all about Lockerbie, the whole 9 yards." And then he did as asked. And the next thing you know, Hillary Clinton comes in as Secretary of State. There's this radical jihadi movement out in eastern Libya, in Benghazi. And the U.S. finances it, runs interference for it, provides air support with NATO. And we helped kill Gaddafi and get him sodomized on live television.
My boss, Steve Kappas, Deputy Director, the Associate Deputy Director for Operations, and a mentor of mine, flew out to Libya to meet with Gaddafi and Gaddafi's intelligence chief, who actually graduated from the University of Michigan, and convinced him to give up his weapons of mass destruction programs, saying, "You don't want to end up like Saddam Hussein. We're going to kill Saddam Hussein," he told Gaddafi in 2002. "We're going to kill him. Mm-hmm. You don't want to end up like that. Just give up your weapons of mass destruction, and everybody's going to live happily ever after." And Gaddafi gave up all his weapons programs.
What a fool, a rube.
And we allowed him to be killed anyway.
And he got played.
Yeah, he got played. We just lied to him. And then, the way he was killed was so horrific. It was so grotesque.
And people think that's just the local. They think that's the locals who did it, but that's not true. I mean, it was a U.S. Drone that fired a missile at his motorcade and maybe at his car specifically, but his car was driven off the road. He and his entourage forced to flee. They hid in a drainage pipe, culvert kind of thing. Yes. And then the jihadis found him and killed him.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about. Do we want to talk about this? I do. I mean, it's. What's so remarkable about the mass shooting that took place at 345 Park Avenue here and 51st Street is that it's not remarkable. This guy came in, he claimed, and reminded me of the shooter at the University of Texas in Austin in 1966, the Texas Watchtower shooter. He suspected there was something wrong with him, that he was hearing voices and having violent urges. And in his suicide note, he requested that his brain be examined for signs of trouble. And in fact, they did find a tumor that was pressing up against his amygdala. And so this guy yesterday, his suicide note said that he believed he had CTE. I don't know if he had ever been diagnosed formally or not. He was a high school football player. He went to the NFL building HQ and basically went to the wrong floor, killed 4 people, including an off-duty New York City police officer who was working security at the desk. And, the thing is, though, it's one of those things where if you say, well, what could you possibly do about it? I mean, I think nothing. I mean, it's like people, but guns are legal. AR-15s are legal. We're washing them. They're all over the place. He drove here from Nevada. He parked in front of the building in his BMW and walked in. I mean, this can and will happen over and over again. And it's almost like all you can do is just shrug. And I think that's the part that's what's so remarkable about it is how unremarkable it is.
And, he apologized in the note that he left, which just, to me, made it that much more sad.
Yeah.
Mental illness, whether it's caused by CTE or something else, is is a horrible existence. And he really believed that he had CTE, and he really believed that it was because he played football in high school.
Yeah. So he was just,
He
but I
believed
mean,
it.
yeah. So it seems to be like it's a political act, basically.
Yeah, right. It is. Yes, it is. It's a political act.
John, should we talk about this story out of Iran? So obviously the Iranians are still smarting from their 12-day, 14-day war with, 12-day war with Israel, and they're licking their wounds, but their whatever their nuclear program was appears to be largely intact. But the Iranians took note, and they're starting to think, and they obviously are investigating what happened. And part of their investigation finds that their GPS was manipulated by the U.S. or Israel or some kind of other bad actor to screw up their targeting abilities. This might help explain why they were so caught with their pants down and unable to defend themselves and fire back against the Israelis, who had complete command of the skies over Iran, which to me blew me away.
This has been a rumor really since the 12-day war, that something was wrong with the GPSs. You're not allowed to use Waze in Iran because Waze is owned by an Israeli company. But any GPS, the Iranians were
right. Waze was purchased by Google. It's now part of Alphabet. Yeah,
correct. It was founded by an Israeli company.
That's right.
So
I always hated it. I never understood it. I didn't understand how the interface makes no sense to me. Maybe you have to read from right to left or something.
Maybe. But I think they're worried about GPSs in general now, just because they believe, probably rightly, that the U.S. and Israel have the technology to be able to interface with the satellites and target Iran.
Well, there are satellites, right? I mean,
there are satellites.
Bill Clinton, right? This was military and covert technology, right? Until Bill Clinton decided to publicize it. I think wisely, he was convinced that this was going to open up all sorts of technological innovation, and it has. I mean, if you think about something like, you look at real estate listings, and you can see a map of where the house is or whatever. It's amazing. But that technology, it's American, and it can and was weaponized against the Iranians. So now they're looking for a Chinese or other alternative. This story is not about Iran. This story is about the U.S. having technological dominance.
That's right.
And then that dominance being undermined by the U.S.'s willingness to weaponize that dominance for short-term gain, losing sight of the long-term impact, which is that if you come off as a non-neutral arbiter, you're not, the rest of the world isn't going to want to trust you anymore. And then you're going to lose your advantage. I mean, we invented the phone. That's why our country code is 1. We have. I mean, this is it's analogous to the dollar, right? We weaponized the U.S. dollar. So now Russia, everyone else who's thinking, well, one day I could fall afoul of. Belgium. You could fall afoul of the United States. You don't know. And then they could just decide to turn off the spigot and screw us and steal our reserve currency. Like, we can't have that. So, we'll get, SWIFT or all these systems that if you want to control them and take a little piece, you can't put your thumb on the example I'm thinking of is how did Constantinople become rich, right? Well, it's right on the Bosphorus, and they just collected tolls, right, from the Silk Road and just waited for ships to go through, and everybody had to pay. And what made it work was they let everyone through, and they charged everyone. If they had started to say the fuck those Sogdians, let's nail them, then that wouldn't have worked. Other people would have been like, well, we have to overthrow the Constantinople, or we have to do an end route. We have to figure another way. Yeah. The U.S. just doesn't, I don't know. It seems really, really short-sighted.
Very, very short-sighted. And we had the same conversation last week about sanctions. Countries have gotten to the point where sanctions just simply don't hurt them anymore because we're so heavy in the way we we levy sanctions against countries, that they're forced to come up with a way around them. And let me interrupt our conversation for 1 second. Just as we were going on the air, exactly 60 minutes ago, Prime Minister Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, announced that Canada would recognize Palestine.
Holy shit. That's amazing. I just had a little tingle there in my upper back. That's so great.
It's happening. You're right. There's a hole in the dike.
The flood,
and it's coming.
It's to take a story from northeastern Russia. It's a seismic shift. It's a tsunami. But it is. It is. And Canada is also, diplomatically a very important country.
Very, very much
Canada's the country that when you're a backpacker and you want to travel to you're an American backpacker and you want to go to Afghanistan and not be thought of as an asshole, you put that Canadian flag on your backpack, right? Canada's considered neutral.
I did that. I sewed a Canadian flag on my backpack in the summer of '85.
Everyone thinks Canada is chill. I'm wondering what Canada strike means here. Canada is following orders. From whom, I wonder?
No, that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. Well, you can pipe in. We'll put that up, if you reply to us. But yeah, so yeah, exactly. Houdini's always say you're Canadian overseas. I like hockey, eh? But yeah, so we'll see what happens here. So there's so much cynicism here, right? I'm not buying it. These elites that backed genocide already can't do good. Look, it's not because they're good people. It's because they read polls and they know that basically the world isn't this. If they were good people, they would have come out against this shit on October 8th, 2023.
Yeah.
This is because it was already obvious what the Israelis were going to do from within hours. They were having a great time. They were looking forward to it.
Yep.
So,
I wonder if some of this is a swipe at Donald Trump too, from the Canadians. I wonder.
It could be. Well, they have reason to be pissed.
Right.
I think, I don't know. I'm not ruling out that Donald Trump is going to distance himself from Israel. It's not like he's going to recognize Palestine, but
right.
I think the weapons flow has to come to an end.
It does. Alyssa Slotkin, a couple people have mentioned Alyssa Slotkin in the chat. She's the senator from Michigan, former CIA colleague of mine. Alyssa's complicated. She's Jewish. She was not endorsed by any of the Jewish groups in America in her campaign. But she won. She won relatively easily in a year when Donald Trump carried her state. But she said that she would be willing to vote for a cutoff of offensive weapons to Israel. That's not going to happen. We saw a week ago there was a vote to cut off offensive weapons to Israel, and it got 6 votes in the House. So it's just not gonna happen.
Well, I don't think it's going to happen quickly, but I think by Christmas time, I think we're going to see some movement, or it's going to slow down or something.
Do you think that if it keeps happening, if country after country, not including, of course, Hungary, Italy, Germany, the United States, but if these other countries continue to recognize Palestine, do you think that this could threaten the Netanyahu government?
Yeah.
Because somebody's going to have to take the blame for losing the international community.
Right. And that has to be Bibi, right? I did a deep dive into Israeli opinion polling, as you know, because you read my column. And 76.5% of Israelis as of June totally have no problem with the genocide. They're like A-okay with it, and they don't think that Palestinian the needs of the Palestinians and their misery should even be taken into consideration in military planning, right? So this is let's be clear here. Even what passes for the Israeli left, they're not demonstrating against the genocide. They're demonstrating because the hostages haven't come home.
Yeah.
And also they don't like Netanyahu and his corruption. But
Yep.
that's what this is about, right? So looking at it it's hard for me to see this from the standpoint of the Israelis, who basically have their heads up their asses while the whole rest of the world is appalled and disgusted with them, and they don't see it. But I do think, if from their point of view, if they're involved in an existential battle to expand Israel, try and get Gaza for themselves, which obviously all Israelis aren't stupid. They know that's what this is about. And that project is going to be deeply hampered by losing U.S. and international support. Yeah. Who else are you going to blame? I mean, you can't a la carte it, say, well, this is Ben-Gvir, but not Netanyahu. It's like it's all of them. The government's got to go. I mean, it's not like they're not going to be replaced with liberals, but
no, there aren't any anymore in Israel.
No. If there's a ceasefire, does Bibi go to prison? Well, if Bibi is out of government,
if he's out of government,
Bibi goes to trial.
Yes.
And then probably he goes to prison, I think.
Yes. Yeah, and this is a good point. Oh, thank you, Candace Drake. Thank you very much. Where did I just see it? We're getting so many comments I can't keep up. Yeah, Hug Droid Mixteen. Don't think they can admit wrongdoing on anything. It's a mountain of war crimes. That's exactly right.
Yeah, well, that's for sure.
And that's why Netanyahu can't risk not being prime minister.
Here's a big question for you. Back in the old days, people like Idi Amin would go into exile in places like Saudi Arabia.
That's right. I saw him in Jeddah in the vegetable market.
What?
I was like, oh my God, that's Idi Amin. And he was there with his wife, like
was he shopping for ears?
Seriously, right? What a monster.
There's a famous story. I forget if it was Time or Newsweek, but one of them interviewed him and on the back porch of his presidential palace. And he at one point was presented with a plate of human ears with tomato garnish, and said, like, this is a delicacy in our country. Would you like one?
Oh my God. I remember reading an article once saying that in a conversation with a reporter, he was talking about the saltiness of bushmeat, and he said monkeys are salty, leopards are very salty, but nothing is as salty as a human being.
Yeah, he was a famous cannibal. Did you ever see that movie with by the French brothers? It's in the Criterion Collection. It's just called Idi Amin Dada.
Ooh,
it's one of the most amazing film. It's a documentary. So this is an amazing film, right? So basically, for 6 months, these two French brothers were given unfettered access to Idi Amin. They followed him everywhere. And this was right after the Entebbe mission by the Israelis, and oddly,
where Netanyahu's brother was killed,
and it changed him apparently. Idi Amin, for the filmmakers, had his army recreate the Entebbe mission and they brings out helicopters and shit. You got to watch it. It's like and also he swims. Is it the Zambezi? He's swimming like next to crocodiles, and like every morning, and he like pushes them out of the way, like, get out of the way, you fucking rascals. But the most, to me, that it's completely, you can't take your eyes off it. But the best moment for me is there's a cabinet meeting, and you can hear the air conditioner like rolling, and he's going around the room, and it's kind of like got that sort of East German kind of decor, like, sort of that Lives of Others kind of vibe. And he's like, okay, so Minister of Education, you're doing a good job. Keep it up. Defense, everything's looking good. And he's going around and he's like, transportation. And the guy starts quivering like a leaf. And he's like, the service still getting complaints about the bus service in the capital. just, you have my number, right? My 4-digit number. And he tells it like 3224. I tell you, you have a problem, you call me morning, day, and night. You get it. Have you ever called me even one time? You never call, and nothing ever gets better. And then the scene cuts, and there's the guy's body floating in the river. It says, the next day, Transportation Minister so-and-so was found floating in the Zambezi.
Oh,
I mean, it's unbelievable. But anyway.
Oh my God.
It's crazy. So, okay, well, so does Bibi Netanyahu? Can he fly to, would the Saudis take him in as the prime minister of a Jewish state?
Never.
Okay.
No, never.
So there's some decency. There are limits. There are rules.
You know what? I think that the reason why they wouldn't ever do it is because their own people would overthrow them.
Well,
if they did something like that. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. No, he's more likely to end up, in the U.S. I was in Old Town Alexandria, Virginia one time. Now this is 20 years ago. And I saw Pervez Musharraf and his wife just window shopping up and down King Street. It was like, so this is where you ended up, you war criminal.
Oh, he's a I could go on about him, because I'm a commentator. I don't really break news.
Right.
The news that I broke ever was the Pervez Musharraf coup. So I was down the street in Islamabad at a cafe, just eating, and I just gotten down the Karakoram highway, taken like 3 or 4 weeks with my friend, and so we're like hanging out. We finally arrived in Islamabad, and there's gunfire down the street, and small arms fire. And so I asked the waiter. The waiters always know everything. I said, "What's going on?" He goes, "Oh, they are overthrowing the government." I'm like, "What?" He goes, "Yeah, Omar Sharif, he is finished. Like he will be killed." I'm like, "What?" I'm like, "Right now?" It's like, "Yeah, that's them now." So I got up with my camera and went and took a bunch of photos and talked to some soldiers. And indeed, like Omar Sharif's in the van, like while I'm talking outside. I'm like outside the van. They're taking him off to be tortured, right? They did torture him. And so Pervez Musharraf, and I knew because when we came down the Karakoram highway, we saw Taliban soldiers all over the place. We were stopped at a checkpoint, and we're like, and they're like, "Oh, you're in Afghanistan." I'm like, "This is the KKH. We're not in Afghanistan. We're in Pakistan." And the guy starts joking, and he goes, "Sometimes Afghanistan comes to you." And because Pervez Musharraf came to power as an alliance with the Taliban, and he allowed the Taliban to enter northern Pakistan to go as proxies to go fight the Indians, and basically say, "We didn't attack you guys. We don't know anything about it." It was called the Third Kashmir War, with the Kargil conflict. You know all this, but this is for the audience.
Oh my God!
And it's like, yeah, fucking Pervez Musharraf. I mean, after 9/11, right? Pakistan was so responsible for what happened to us more than any other country. Did they get justice? No, they got a raise.
Nope. That was it. They got a raise. Yep.
Disgusting.
And like every exiled Pakistani leader, he's now in Dubai, which is exactly where what was her name went. Prime Minister. Oh, come on. We were just talking about her last week. Why am I having
which country?
Pakistan.
Oh, Bhutto.
Prime Minister Bhutto and her husband.
Yep.
Back and forth between Pakistan and Dubai, presidency and exile, crimes against humanity and all that stuff.
Lovely fellows all around, and ladies.
Yeah. She's dead. Musharraf's dead. They're all dead now.
Yeah, that's true.
Of course, she took a bullet to the brain is what did her in.
Yeah. Well, Pakistanis are spicy.
Oh yeah, it's a tough
You don't
gig.
want to cross them.
No, it's a tough gig.
I mean, it's like, I every moment I was in Pakistan, I had the feeling that a riot could break out any second. someone could just walk down the street and start screaming something in Urdu, and the next thing you know, people are out there with sticks and shit and guns out. They're like, it's on, and you don't even know what's going on. All right. So, where's Hamid Karzai? Hamid Karzai is still in Kabul, living happily next to the Taliban. He's got balls of steel. But
his brother's got a restaurant in Baltimore. If anyone wants to go check it out, it's actually pretty good.
I do like Afghan food quite a bit. But well, not the Afghan food there for the most part, just because
the Afghan food in America is head and shoulders better than any Afghan
it's
food.
It's like Cuban food. Cuban food sucks in Cuba.
It's terrible in Cuba.
Yeah.
Like, how much zucchini can you eat?
Or boiled chicken.
Yeah, tell me about it.
And bad yellow rice. All right.
What's your take on Imran Khan? I actually like Imran Khan. I liked and respected him. His problem is that anytime he has a problem, whether it's riots in the streets or an ingrown toenail, he blames the United States.
I think we're gonna leave that there for the deprogramming for today. Just a reminder to everybody, in case you missed it, it would mean a lot to John and I, and in the most important way, which is to say financially, if you guys were to watch this same exact show the same exact way over on Rumble instead of YouTube. Obviously, if you can't for whatever reason, we love you on YouTube too, but we get paid a zillion times more over on Rumble than we do. It's pennies on YouTube. There's no comparison. So, if you go over to Rumble and just watch us exactly the same way, it'd be much appreciated. You don't have to remember this weird URL. Just go to Rumble and search for John or my name or the show, and it'll come right up. And so thank you very much. We're here Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 5:00 Eastern time. We're going to be going in 2 weeks to a Monday through Friday schedule, 5 p.m. So hopefully you guys will stick around for that. We love this show and we love you guys. We have the best fans and the best watchers and viewers. And we're fans of you guys too. So it's a mutual admiration society. Anyway, John, always a pleasure. Hang in there. And
it's fun, as it always is.
It flies. Time flies.
It does.
All right. And
thanks, everybody.
By the way, Canada.
That's right. Kudos to the Canadians.